Good morrow and good day to thee, my loyal subjects. My name is MiAh the King, and yes, I am a king, over the kingdom of nothing. Anyway, today we're taking a look at a game that came out early this morning called Blacksmith Legends. Developed by VM Gaming and published by Rock Game SA, the game is described on Steam as such. Blacksmith Legends is an RPG management strategy game where you inherit a small workshop and build your way up. Your job is to craft, modify your recipes, manage your workshop employees, become hero or villain in the kingdom to impress or dethrone your king. Now, from what I can gather, this game is where you are a blacksmith in a medieval fantasy world, and you also happen to be playing an RPG, so it's not just a blacksmith simulator. Or at least that's how the game is advertised. That is not what this is. You are basically just playing a blacksmith simulator, so if that idea turns you off already, then yeah, maybe just move on and thank me for saving you some time and money in the comments below. But if you want to hear more about this game, just in case it might be something you're looking for, then please be patient and sit through my rather short video, or at least I'm going to try to make it short. Also, this game is in early access, so keep that in mind as we move forward. No, I do not consider that to be an appropriate excuse for a crappy game. I've seen dozens upon dozens of early access games that came out incredible, so being in early access only gets you so far in my book. So first off, we're going to go over the negatives I found, because the negatives were the first thing that stuck out to me. Number 1, the tutorial. It's okay. It's not great, but it's not terrible, but it was frustrating how much reading they wanted me to do and how the reading kind of took me out of the moment. Not only that, but considering how much text they give you to read, they don't really teach you a whole lot. Sure, I learned the basics of the game and I kinda figured out the rest, but I have no idea if I can rotate my screen or not. Moving around the map is really wonky. I have no idea how to extend the size of my blacksmith. I didn't know that taking a quest that wants you to craft something that you don't have a recipe for would then give it to you, so I wasn't taking some quests until I realized that in these quests they give you the recipe for the item they want crafted. It doesn't explain the good and evil corruption mechanic, it barely explains the selling aspect, and it talks about gaining customers but doesn't really elaborate on how to or what goes on with that. Turns out you earn loyal customers automatically, but the game didn't tell me that. So the tutorial could use a little bit of work, and it's not really in line with the game's story or flow, so it just feels out of place and makes you a little uncomfortable and kind of confused and annoyed. Number 2, the game is slightly misleading. It makes you feel like you are a blacksmith and an adventurer. This is not true. You are just a blacksmith. You can hire an adventurer and deck them out in gear and send them out on missions for you, but it's very laid back and not even remotely close to being a main focus of the game. This game on the Steam store page is talking about being a blacksmith RPG, but it's just not. You can't really do anything with your blacksmith. You can barely customize them. I mean, you can name them, sort of choose what they look like, and that's about it. You can customize your shop, but in any simulator game you could do stuff like that. So I'm struggling to find out where the RPG aspects are. The fact that you can pick good or evil? The adventurer you hire? I'm assuming so, because in no way does your character, the blacksmith, do anything besides bang on his anvil all day. Number 3, the sound quality. First off, the music is way too loud. You can't hear a thing. And you have to severely lower it just so you can hear any ambiance. Which reminds me, the ambience didn't even work for me at first. I had to wait until after I turned off the music completely for the ambiance to kick in, and the other sound effects of like banging on the anvil, and then after all that was finally enabled, I guess, I was able to increase the music just a smidge so that I could hear everything. And I'll give them this, when the ambient sound effects actually worked, they sounded like an immersive town in Blacksmith. I mean, the sounds aren't groundbreaking by any means, but at least they were finally there. As for the music, well, it's about as generic and plain as you can get. It's okay, I guess, but it's not outstanding. You know, it's not anything special, and I don't know. Number 4, the price. I always seem to have a problem with the pricing of some of these games. Sometimes they hit the mark, and sometimes they are just slightly off. This is one of those situations. It's just a bit too pricey. But only, by a little bit. They almost had it. For $18 they sell you this game, but I feel it's a $15 game. So that's just a very small disagreement. There's no voice acting. The gameplay is simple and repetitive and barely requires much effort for the player, and overall it doesn't really offer me anything that I would feel justify this price except for the fact that it might be a really long game. But length doesn't always necessarily mean charge more money. Quality does play a bit of a part here, and so does voice acting. Don't get me wrong, this is a rather small point and barely even worth mentioning and more of a personal opinion than anything. Number 5. This is another personal point, but the game is just kind of boring from a gameplay perspective. You just kind of sit around and click over and over and then watch as barely anything happens. This gameplay negative will also be in the positives, by the way, but it's a very slow game that doesn't require the player to do a whole lot other than click on a few buttons and then wait and watch. To some people, that's going to be a negative, which is why it's here. But that's all I got for the negatives. Up next is the positives, and if you're enjoying this video so far, or at least finding it informative, I would greatly appreciate it if you could support my Kingdom of Nothing. How can you do that? Well, it's super simple and easy. All you gotta do is leave a comment, hit the like button, or join my kingdom by hitting subscribe. Also, sharing this video would help me out even more because YouTube doesn't really like to advertise small channels like mine, and I need my loyal, beautiful viewers out there to kinda help out sometimes. So, thank you so much. Now then, on to the positives. Number 1, while the graphics aren't the best that I've seen, it's still, kinda like the look and feel of it. I mean, sorry, I meant to say I kind of like the look and feel of it. It's detailed and well designed, but not too overly complicated. It's not very colorful, but that adds a realistic effect to it. The lighting effects are pretty good, the attention to detail is pretty good, and overall they were just rather pleasant to look at for hours, like it's not going to strain or hurt my eyes in any way. And of course it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Number 2, the gameplay. See, I told you it'd be in both the pros and the cons. The gameplay can get a bit complicated the further you play as you get more orders and more items become available. But don't worry, the game gives you several options of automation, so you don't have to worry too much about getting lost or getting behind schedule or just confused. And you still have to keep paying attention or else you'll just run out of money. But there is a sophistication here in the gameplay. You need to order supplies like bulk wood or iron from mines or lumberjacks so you can craft certain things. You have to smelt iron or silver, so you gotta buy a smelter, so that way you can craft more advanced things. And to do that, you're gonna need an employee to help you smelt. And you're gonna need good relations with the town or with the people, so that way you get better pricings or whatnot. Which, while we're on that subject, you can affect how your town grows based on the things you focus on crafting. You want an agricultural-based town? Build plows and pickaxes. Want a more military-based town? Build swords and shields. At least, that's how it's looking like so far. So, that level of influence is pretty cool. Plus, there are quests for evil and quests for good, and you can choose to decline or accept which quests you want, which will allow you to pick which kind of person you want to be. And the gameplay is rather simple, even though at times it can get complicated. But that adds to the realism of the game and makes it super addictive and enjoyable, at least for me. I am addicted to this game, and I could probably play it all day long due to the style of gameplay here. Number 3. The length and stability. Both are rather short, so I combine them together in this one point. But the stability is pretty good. It only clipped a little for me once in the beginning, and then it was super smooth and stable the rest of the time. Now, I did hear through other reviews online that it has its issues with freezing and crashing and whatnot, so keep that in mind. It's not very stable overall, but for me it was. So I can only, give my opinion based on how it was for me, and for me it was pretty good. As for the length, well, a game like this feels like it could go on for dozens of hours, which I hope it will. It's just got that simulator feel where you could just spend, 4 hours just playing it and then make zero progress in the act of the story, because you're just so into the being a blacksmith part of it. And if not, then this game is totally not worth it, but it has the potential to be a super long game that's addictive and engaging and allows you to customize and whatnot, and so for that reason alone, it's in the positives. And those are the only positives that I can really think of. Yes, I know that there are more negatives and positives here, and you can take that at face value, or you can keep listening to what I have to say. My final thoughts are actually swinging more into the positive route. I enjoyed myself. Don't get me wrong, when I first started playing I was bored and annoyed, but the longer I played, the more draw I felt to want to keep playing. I want to expand my blacksmith, and I want to make it bigger and cooler. I want more reputation. I want to deal with the king and higher ranking people. You can totally customize your shop, and some of those customizations even help your stats. And let's face it, you're just a blacksmith. I mean, what else did you expect from a game like this? But then again, it does mislead you with that whole it's an RPG thing. It's not. So go into this game not expecting an RPG, but expecting a blacksmith simulator. But honestly, it's probably the best blacksmith simulator game that I've found, and I've been looking for one for a while. There's been a few out there, but this one, I don't know why, but this one just really hits it for me. It's engaging, it's fun, and it's addictive, at least to me. But again, on the flip side, it can also be boring and slow to some people. I mean, look at this video. This is all the gameplay there is. So if you were looking for a realistic fantasy blacksmith simulator, then this is probably the best bet for you. I'm not going to get a refund, as it gave me exactly what I was looking for. But if you were really, actually expecting an RPG, like I was, then it might not really be the best for you to look elsewhere. I just got lucky that I happened to like it even though it wasn't an RPG. But what you see is what you're going to be doing for like the next 10 hours with minor improvements to your character and your shop. And if this isn't what you wanted, then move on and save yourself the time and money. But if you just wanted to roleplay as a blacksmith where your actions and choices have meaning, then this is the perfect game for you. I'd recommend at least checking this game out if you're into simulator games. Within the first hour, hour and a half, you're going to know if you like it or not, because that's going to be the whole gameplay. And if you don't like it at that point, you can get your money back, So that's all I got to say. I like it, but I can definitely see why a lot of people won't like it. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.